Hello, I am JX Editor, and you want to know why they call me Director's Bane? I killed the director when I was 10, and then I climbed into bed with his wife, who, like all the best directors' wives, was an editor. And you know what she did when she woke up? She suckled me at her teat for 3 months. That's why I'm such a good editor. Editor's milk. I'm also here with Chris.
I think I'll be having that drink now. I'm on water though. I'm not on the hard stuff. But first off, fair fucking play. Fair fucking play.
Oh my god. Oh.
We've got to do a live show now. Like,
yeah, that was uncomfortable.
before we begin, give JXE a fucking subscribe just for that alone. Like, let's get those subscribers going if you're watching this right now.
Yeah, do it. I'm okay with. I like this idea.
I was gonna say that might be the quickest I've ever seen anyone put away 2 pints before.
You gotta know. Oh fuck.
It's all in the gullet, right? It's like just boom.
No comment.
Yeah, I know. Fuck it.
But yeah. It's the same way you take a shot, just a lot more.
Just a lot more shots. Just 2 pints of a shot, right?
Yeah. Well, a little bit less. You get. You got to drip some on there when you're doing the bit. I didn't have to, and then I realized it was almost empty, and I hadn't spilled any.
Well, while I give you a little bit of time to recover, I should probably talk about what we're actually here to review today. Because
Storm of Swords.
We're not just here to drink. I mean, I do have Jack Daniels right here. I have some Gentleman's Jack, but I'm not drinking today. But yes, Storm of Swords. We are reviewing another fan edit as usual. Bi-weekly, we do a fan edit that you request for me to watch, and then we jump on and talk about it. And it's continuing with Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is now all said and done, thankfully. And it did go out on a real whimper, but we're still here. We wanted to keep it Game of Thrones themed, and we are reviewing part 2 of the Game of Thrones fan edits using the Lord of the Rings soundtrack. This is the second part. This is A Storm of Swords, which is technically the name of the third book and not the second book, which really
fucks that's weird.
Yeah. Like A Clash of Kings. Like, we get, like, what is it, Tales of Honor and Kings, or we get, like, the shittest title ever when it could just be called A Game of Thrones. And then this one should be A Clash of Kings, and it's A Storm of Swords. Makes no sense to me at all. But,
yeah. I guess it would be weird to call, although I do think it could be weird to call it A Clash of Kings if the subtitle, if it goes by the names of the books, and the subtitle, or the main title, is the name of the first book. You don't really have a... it would be like Fellowship of the Ring would be called The Lord of the Rings. The Lord of the Rings.
Well, I would have it like called A Song of Ice and Fire as the main title, and then have the supplementary subtitle be like the main title of the film, like the equivalent of your Fellowship of the Ring, your Two Towers, your Return of the King.
I see what you're saying there. I think that would probably go to something more akin to the books. I said more a lot there.
Well, this one, I will say, like, if we're going with like initial opinions right now, and then we'll get into like the categories that we usually talk about and review these things on, I like this one a hell of a lot more than the first film. I think partly that's due to the fact that Daenerys is literally in this film for probably about 10 seconds at the very end of the film.
Yeah. I was also gonna say that, like, also season 2 is just kind of awesome. It's possibly my favorite season.
Yeah, and seeing it all structured together and like thrown together in a 3-hour, 10-minute movie. Honestly, they could have stretched it to 4. It would probably be better if they did stretch it to 4. You could throw in more of the stuff with
better is a strong word.
Say that again, sorry?
Better is a strong word.
I just think that there's moments like with Shay, for example, who just happens to be there because he didn't put her in the first movie. Bronn is just there, which is fine if you've seen the TV show and you can piece all these things together yourself. There's a lot of stuff at Harrenhal that's skimmed over. I think 4 hours and just break it even with the Return of the King extended edition. You could have got a lot in there in an hour, I think, if you'd have thrown it in there. But I just think the structure of this one, it felt more like a movie. The other one felt like I was watching an abridged TV show cut down for time, missing loads of stuff out. This one, I think just how it's structured and how it ramps up to your big ending finale with Blackwater. This felt more like a movie. It did feel like I was watching Two Towers because Blackwater is the closest thing to Helm's Deep I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, I have this in the notes. Let me just bring it up. I was gonna bring it up during the movie portion, but I think now is as good a time as any. This movie's Now for Wrath, Now for Ruin, and the Red Dawn, which is what Theoden says before writing out the Gates of Helm's Deep. That is, those are brave men knocking at our door.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go kill them.
Yeah.
Also, I like to just have a weapon with me during all of these shows, and I have this because Wild Westeros.
Because you have the right to express the Second Amendment, right? And we don't in the UK.
I mean, tell that to your farmers. Apparently, from what I hear. What is with that? How do farmers get shotguns?
I don't know. Now I want to do like a Lord of the Rings fan edit with Farmer Maggot holding a shotgun rather than a pitchfork.
Wow. That's a turn.
That is definitely a turn. We should probably get to the review right now because we have a lot to talk about in this thing.
Yes, Game of Thrones. A Storm of Swords, sequel to the Season 1 edit, A Tale of Kings and Honor. Like its predecessor, the edit attempts to take a season of Game of Thrones, and, well, in this case, Season 2, and match it with the, cut it down to a 3-hour-ish movie, and with the Howard Shore score soundtrack from Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. And it is also, side note, won Fan Edit of the Month last March.
And what's the name of the fan editor?
Andreas. I hope I've been saying it correctly this entire time, because this is not the first, and it will not be the last thing of his we review.
Definitely. Well, you know what we're reviewing next time. I think I do know what we're reviewing next time. I think technically it isn't I guess it is a fan edit of sorts if it is what I'm thinking it is next week.
I found it on IFDB, or I found its earlier version on IFDB, so I'm going to count it.
It counts. Okay. So we're going to review this as normal with the 5 criteria we usually do: originality, invisibility, complexity, necessity, and movie. And I believe we're starting off with originality.
Yes, originality. How it's, as I say this every time because I have it written out, but it's pretty self-explanatory, and I feel like this part is completely unnecessary. But how original is the edit? Is it similar to other edits or other movies? Is it based off of something? Are they particularly trying to emulate a piece of media, which they are in this case? Edits in the Star Wars franchise will always receive lower points in this, usually. Yeah.
Do you have my scores up from the last Game of Thrones one we did? Because I feel like this is going to be very similar to that one whenever I gave.
Yes, I have the whole page open with all our notes.
What did I give this one for originality?
7.
I'm going to give this one a 6. I'm going to take 1 point off it. It's a sequel, so of course it's not going to be as original. However, I do, for the most part, really love the placement of music in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Except
the ending.
Except the ending, definitely, and we'll talk about that when we get to it. But originality, it's still... I felt like this one was doing more artistically creative stuff with the music and its juxtaposition of scenes. It shuffled some scenes around, like, in terms of dialogue, and there was this nice parallel with stuff. So in terms of it actually being original, it felt a little bit more so in that regard. But I have still got to dock it a point because it is the second one, and he is essentially doing exactly the same thing as he did last time, just with new material. So I'm going to give it a 6 on this one.
I actually, similar case, the edit is very similar. I give it a 6.5 because it being if it were up to the same standards as the first one, it would probably get a 6 as well. Mm-hmm. However, it does some things that the first one didn't. Specifically, it intercuts seasons. We open with season 1 still, mm-hmm. but then we cut to season 2, and then we cut back to season 1. And it does it fairly. It does it very well. That's next, but invisibly.
So I give it 6, you give it 6.5. We may as well move on to Invisibility. This is kind of a weird because it is a sequel edit, then we kind of can gloss over some things, whereas we may have talked a little bit more in depth on it in the first part that we did. Invisibility, so this is how invisible the individual cuts are. That goes for audio, that goes for visual, and everything along with it. I don't know why, but I think I noticed a lot more cuts in this one than I did part 1.
Really?
Specifically, literally from the first 10 seconds of the edit, the music was terribly edited in that first scene. And maybe it's because I'm so aware of the Howard Shore thing, but he just cuts it off mid-main theme. And there wasn't any kind of connective tissue there. And in terms of this might be more so movie than Invisibility. I thought in terms of his actual editing of scenes, obviously there wasn't like a missing frame or anything. There was some music tracks which I didn't feel were faded out, and there was some music that I thought was way too high over the dialogue. And some of the dialogue got lost. So one more pass of like the audio mix, I think, would have definitely been needed for this edit.
That's definitely Invisibility, by the way.
Yeah, and it's just some choice of scenes. Like I did kind of get tonal whiplash from some scenes. There's one like really sad scene, for example, where Tyrion's with Shay, and then the next scene it's like a intensive chase sequence, and then it cuts back to something somber, and it's like you need to pick a tone and you need to arrange your scenes that transition into the next one nicely. I guess that's difficult to do when you're working with a TV show that does constantly cut between different characters. But you'd have like the epic Lord of the Rings goblin escape music from An Unexpected Journey, and then you would cut to like Arwen's song from the Houses of Healing from Return of the King, and then boom, you'd be back to like the goblin, and it just didn't, there was no flow with it like that. There was some particular scenes and moments of the film that really stuck out to me like that, but for the most part I thought it was solid. Again, I would probably give it one less point than I did for season 1, because I did feel that was stronger in terms of its invisibility.
So you want to know what you gave it for season
I
1?
do, yes, yeah.
You gave season 1 a 6.
Okay, you know what? I'll go 5.5. I won't quite dock it to a 5, but yeah.
So I actually didn't. I'll admit I might have been having dinner at the time of at least the beginning, because I had to watch it in 2 parts because of let's just say reasons. So I may have missed some of the things that you're talking about, but this one's actually gonna get high out. Wait, let me see what I gave it. Yeah, I gave the first one a 7, so I'm actually giving this one a bit higher. It's getting a 7.5, which nice. I'm not honestly. I'm not surprised I gave this a little bit of a nudge, because it's a sequel, which is why it lost a bit last one. But because it's a sequel, the abilities of the creator are sure to have improved. It didn't have a choppy, annoying, jarring intro, which might have. It was reminiscent of the original with those fades. I still don't like the fades, though. I'm sorry.
I will say, actually, the opening 5 minutes of this movie was just moving at a breakneck speed. There was no kind of or anything.
You sent me a message on Skype about that. What did you say exactly?
I said the opening 5 minutes of this movie feels like it snorted a line of coke.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because there was I think scenes were lasting for about 20 seconds, and then it moved on to something completely different. Like, you couldn't show this to someone brand new. I
intend to.
No, because they're missing out on so much. They're not going to make sense of it. There is no through line. As I said, like with Shay, there's nothing there. That's getting onto movie. I'll talk about that later, but
there are some people who just don't have time to watch a whole series. Like a certain friend of mine who would like to hear you say something.
Are we doing that? Okay, we're doing that right now. Well, there's 2 words. I'll give you one now, and I'll give you one to the end of the edit. So you've got to watch the entire video if you want to hear it.
Sorry, Emily.
This is for Emily. Slightly backdated. I'm sorry. You wanted me to say, well, you say it first because you've got US viewers. So if you say how you would say it, and then I'll say it afterwards how I will.
Am I saying are we reading them in the order that I sent them to you?
Yes. So we just do the first word for right now.
Okay. Aluminum.
Okay, I say aluminium.
Which isn't even right on your side of the fence. You guys get the posh ones. They go aluminium.
Yes, I'm trying to say it now.
They have a Y in there.
Yeah, I say aluminium. like with a
yeah.
aluminium with like a yum at the end, because I'm from the Midlands and I'm a commoner, so I don't verbalize things as quite eloquently as some people. Actually, you should hear the other people around my area. Like I'm like high society sophisticated with how I talk compared to most people around here. But
reminds me of the assassin in book 1 and season 1 who tried to kill Bran. You're not supposed to be here. No one's
supposed
supposed
to be it. Yeah.
It's just S apostrophe post. But yeah, there were times when the music didn't really seem to didn't work, or it would just cut off a bit, like you said. I'm thinking specifically when Theon takes Winterfell and the horns of Isengard play. They use that a lot for a bunch of different characters. I might have been more okay with it if that had been like the theme of the Ironborn, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
So, but I guess that kind of risks going into movie territory, so I'll call it there.
Yeah, movie's quite a broad one for this. So we move on to complexity next. This is how different is the edit compared to its source material, how much time and effort went into it. Whatever I gave it last time, I'm actually going to give it a little bit more on this one, believe it or not. It's obviously exactly the same concept, although I think the first one managed to completely isolate the dialogue and everything. There were some occasions in this where he didn't, notably every Melisandre scene was the original Game of Thrones soundtrack. There was no Game of Thrones stuff overlaid over that. And the first half of Blackwater as well didn't have any music over that from Lord of the Rings. It was the original Game of Thrones audio. So I don't know if that was just troublesome to isolate and he just couldn't do it, so he left it in. I'm not quite sure. Or he's just run out of Lord of the Rings music to use, because by God, like I'm surprised. He does repeat some stuff throughout the edit.
I was going to point that out, so I don't think that's the case.
But the complexity in this one, in all honesty, is mostly coming from how he's cut some scenes. This was towards the end, and I was getting those Lord of the Rings vibes from it, which was awesome. There is a moment, this might actually come into movie as well, I don't know where it would technically classify, where you've got Robb and Talissa getting married, and it's offset with Shay speaking to Tyrion, and I don't believe that that's how that was edited in the original TV show. I think that was just a whole scene each. But when they're doing their wedding vows, it's cutting to Shay and Tyrion, and she says, "I am yours and you are mine." And there's some like beautiful like cross edits that he has between scenes, which I thought were really reinforced with the music. So I found this one more complex because it seemed like he'd thought about the order of some scenes and the power of that music will have over that with the dialogue. Whereas the first movie just seemed like it was, let's just put Lord of the Rings music over it and see what happens. This felt like there was a bit more of a thought process behind it. So I will give it 1 point more than what I gave originally.
One whole point?
1 whole point.
That's a 9.
Oh, that might be a little bit high. Let's go 8.5.
Yeah, I thought so.
Let's bring that down a little bit.
Yeah, I'm also giving it 0.5 more than I gave it. I have the page open. I probably said that. I drank 2 pints at the beginning of this.
It's all right. We're keeping this together. We're keeping this on track.
Yeah, someone is. This edit, like many of the others we've reviewed so far, it is very complex without going absolutely crazy on like the story or the premise. It was meant to compress the story of a 10-hour show into 3-hour movie, and it does that, even including, as I said earlier, parts of season 1. So it's getting a little bit of a nudge for complexity, which I already said, which is 8.
Nice. So again,
cheers.
Sort of around. Cheers. Oh my God, we got more.
I like to sip on them during the show, and so I just had a third one ready.
Shit. Right, so we move on to necessity. Was this an edit that needed to be made? Was this something people were clamoring for? Honestly, I don't know if... So, I mean, this is a sequel edit, so we can't really classify this the same way that we did the first one. Was this necessary? Probably not. It's probably gone through the minds of some, hardcore fantasy nerds or nerds in general, because Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones are kind of like the two cornerstones of like fantasy and modern media, at least. So if there wasn't already a video on YouTube of someone like dicking around with the Lord of the Rings music over a Game of Thrones scene, it was probably going to get made at some point. However, this is a necessity. Could you link this as just an edit in general, like movie one, or is this a necessity for a sequel to an edit that had already been made?
I'm just gonna say I do nudge it points because it is a sequel.
Right. Okay. So did the first one win fan edit of the month?
I believe it did, but I probably should have had a page open. Luckily, there are only 3 Game of Thrones edits made, so I just need to click that link, and I have it. And yeah, favorite edit of the month.
Okay, so it went over. It was received very well. It went over very well, and once you do one on season 1 and it ends on that cliffhanger, right? There's kind of is a clamoring if you've already built up fans who watch your first one to go on to a part 2. So I guess I'm going to go for like a 7.5 or an 8 on this one. Let's go 7.5, I think, because it's still very high and it did go over very well. But yeah, I mean, I was looking forward to it after watching the first one. So
I was looking forward to it when I heard it was going to be a thing because season 2 is fucking awesome.
And you know what? I'm looking forward to part 3. A Feast for Crows, I guess, because if we're going with the tradition of always naming it after the book that it's based on.
Well, no, every other book that it's based on.
Yeah, so I mean, like this one should have been called A Clash of Kings. Part 3 is called A Storm of Swords, so he kind of fucked that one, unless he doesn't plan to make any more. I don't know. But how this one ends with Daenerys, like, is he going to backtrack and do the whole House of the Undying thing for part 3?
No, he's everyone hated Karth. We're not going there. I've looked at the forum. I know this. I know we're not going to Karth.
Then I do question his necessity of even putting Daenerys at the end of this film.
I think it made sense in the context of the scene, and it was just a shot of her walking with the dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It made context in the scene, probably.
Well, I guess so. But if you're watching this as a newcomer, you'll be like, well, what was the point of that scene? Because she hadn't been in the rest of the movie. There's no point to cut to her at all. You could have just excised her completely, and then just picked up with wherever she is in the next one.
So what you're saying is the next one is going to have an even higher necessity.
Yes. Yeah. Sure.
Wow.
I mean, I would love to see it where, I mean, it really fucks me off that he didn't call this A Clash of Kings, but
I got over this in like 5 minutes, dude.
But A Storm of Swords is 2 books, 2 halves completing 1 book. So if he can make a way of editing part 1 and part 2 into 1 movie, that's going to be amazing if he can do that. But again, he's not really. I keep thinking he's basing it on the books. He's trying to make a conclusive edit of like, this is a movie adaptation of book 1. This is a movie adaptation of book 2. And he's really kind of not.
You gotta quit that.
Yeah, I know. This is how I would edit them if I was doing it. But that's.
But you're not.
No, but we have discussed possible ideas of a possible Game of Thrones edit.
You need to shut your fucking mouth right now.
Okay, I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe.
Wait, they didn't. I wasn't making a noise, so they didn't see. I winked.
It's going to be like 3 years off anyway, because we need to finish our own projects first. But
yeah, I got a sequel and a sequel to a sequel to make.
Exactly.
And then
I'm still just going to have my Hobbit edit.
Hey, apparently I'm helping with that now.
You are, yes. We're collaborating on that now. So
movie.
Yes, movie. What were you giving it for necessity? Sorry.
Well, I just realized we haven't been explaining what these mean.
Yeah, we have.
Oh, listen.
I have.
I've been drinking.
What did you give it for necessity?
Wait, I didn't talk about necessity, did I? Okay, necessity. This one has more than double what I gave the first one, which also, by the way, you gave it more than I did. But it gets that mostly for being a sequel, because hypothetically one could watch season 2 after the first film, and that wouldn't, in my opinion, be an unpleasurable experience. However, if you watch the first movie as a movie, of course you probably want to watch the second one as a movie. So it doesn't get a full 10, but I'm giving it a 7.
So yeah, the final one movie. This is going to be the big one and probably the one that I'm going to talk most about. I will say that more so than the first one, this felt like a complete move. Like I was thinking as I was watching this, if you were to take Game of Thrones, which is a huge book, I think book 2 is like 800 pages or more. And if you were going to condense that and make it into a movie, I was watching this, and when we got to like Blackwater, I was kind of like really getting into it because I haven't watched season 2 since, pretty much after it came out. So I was getting really invested in it, and it did feel like a complete movie with that build up. We'd spent time with Rob and everything, and Stannis and the Lannisters, and we were built to this big battle at the end. It felt way more like a complete movie to me in this one, and I did really get into it. And I was thinking, you know what? If this was a movie that had come out, like a 3-hour movie based on Game of Thrones, I could see it working. Like, there wasn't quite as much in this one that I thought was missing. It still felt very complete. Like, yes, we talked about some stuff that was cut out at Harrenhal, specifically surrounding Jack and Hagar, that I thought could have been developed more.
Wait, that's what you thought at Harrenhal could have been developed more?
Well,
developed more?
I mean, I love the Tywin and Arya stuff. Like, don't get me wrong, but that is.
It wasn't in the book.
It's yeah, exactly. It's not in the book. And did I really miss it? No. But I do think they needed some more context around the Jack and Hagar assassination things, because that did kind of come out of nowhere.
I actually like the way that was edited when he says you took three names or 3 lives from the Red God, and now you must give them back. Cut. I like that. And then it cuts to the scene of the Tickler getting killed, doesn't he? Doesn't it?
Oh yeah, you might be right. Yeah. I think it's just my not like having seen the TV show and knowing what got cut. A lot of the camaraderie with Arya and like Hot Pie and who's the other kid that gets killed? I forget his name.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. It's fine that you forget his name.
I thought they could have included some stuff like that, maybe. But everything else I thought was pretty much intact, and I do think definitely getting rid of the Daenerys stuff helped. I would have liked to have seen her just gone completely. But the whole plot of this one, and this might just be a trait of season 2, it felt more streamlined. It felt more cohesive as like a solid movie. I could see this as a solid movie. You've got characters like Shay and Bronn, who had he have made part 1 4 hours and, gone to the Vale and introduced Bronn there, and, Shagga, son of Dolph, and all these people, and having Shay in the tent, then seeing them in this movie wouldn't have been a problem. I do think there were some very beautiful scenes which were coupled with the music were just like, I was getting all like of the nerd chills when I was watching it. Cersei's monologue to her son, the story of the lion cub during the Battle of Blackwater when she believes that her son's going to get killed at any moment, was beautiful with the music. A lot of the battle sequences with the movies was fantastic. With the music, sorry. Yeah, and like just the Robb Stark stuff was great, and the Theon stuff as well. Like, this was really good stuff. It moved at a good pace, I will say. Like, I watched this entire thing in one sitting. This did not feel like 3 hours to me. Like, when you said, "Oh, by the way, yeah, I'll see you in 3 hours," I thought you were just joking. And then I checked the runtime, and I was like, "Fuck, I'm going to be here for 3 hours 10 minutes," and it honestly just flew by. So it was very, very well paced. A little bit too well paced in the first 5 or 10 minutes or so, I will say. That did move a little bit too quick for my liking. Honestly, I could have done a 4-hour edit of this thing. Add in, like, that gives you like a 50-minute to an hour leeway. You could add even more stuff in to flesh it out a little bit more. And I really liked his choosing of the Lord of the Rings tracks for the most part.
For the most, I recognize the Starlight, by the way, song. I don't recognize a lot of Hobbit score.
Okay,
that's one I do, because I used it in the Battle of the Five Armies like montage edit.
The one that we both have a problem with is literally the very ending track of the film, which really sucks. Which really sucks, because up until that point, he segued into Gollum's song, the closing song, and into the ending credits song of Two Towers. Well, not that one. No, the
it's been a week, because I watched it in preparation for last Sunday.
That there once was light.
Oh yeah.
Darkness falls. That one. Like, he segues into that during like the ending, as we get in our montage with all the characters where they're going off for part 3. And it was great. And you had this really haunting shot of Winterfell on fire as the music ramped up, and you were expecting to go into the credits. And then he throws another scene in there with the White Walkers approaching, which I thought was a really kind of pointless scene, or should have been moved to a different place in the edit. Or if he was going to put it at the end, I wouldn't have already got into Gollum's song. I would have saved that and then used it specifically for that ending shot.
Post-credit scene?
Yeah, but yeah, exactly. It could have been a post-credit scene, maybe. However, like when he did go back to it, it did break up the flow of it.
Is there one?
Yeah, I didn't check actually. I don't think there wasn't one on part 1.
There wasn't, but you know, we might want to. There might be, and that would be really awkward if we didn't like at least bring it up.
You do have a penchant for end credit scenes, and I'm not putting one in my Hobbit fan edit. It's not happening. But
oh, you son of a bitch! Do it!
No,
do it!
I will say though, like Gollum's song, when that camera pans back to that vast host of the army of the dead, and it fades to black, and we get that like really shrill scream from the White Walker, it was awesome. I just thought it kind of broke up the ending. Like you were expecting it to go into the credits of a burning Winterfell, which is a really nice thematic image of where the current state of things is for the Starks and moving into season 3. But yeah, so again, that's like a structural problem. So whilst I do think this definitely works better as a movie overall, and definitely works more as a movie to show someone as a newcomer, I do think they're missing out on a lot of stuff. So I'd probably show them season 1, HBO, 10 episodes as it is. And then I'd probably show them this movie if they did want to save some time. Because I do think there's enough in this movie to keep it intact. But yeah, it's just some structural problems I had. So whatever I gave it, what did I give it on the last movie?
Let me just check real quick. I just jump around from document to document. You gave it a 7.5.
I'm gonna give this one. I'm torn between an 8 or an 8.5, and I'm feeling that if I do see a really really good fan edit, then that's like an 8.5 will be more worthy for a film like that. I'm gonna give this an 8. I do want to ramp it up higher.
Can I just throw something out there?
Go on, sorry. Yeah.
I am also giving it an 8, and you gave the first one a 7.5, while I gave it a 7.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense.
I just want to throw that out there because, you know, we might have felt fuck it, just keep going.
I was gonna say
I'm drunk.
It's it's more of the same as the first one, but I do think this one works a little bit more. So therefore, that's why I nudge it up by half a point.
Yeah, I can. I nudge it up by a whole point because I gave it a 7. Mm-hmm. Gave the first one a 7. Mm-hmm. God. Okay.
Director's
yes.
Bane, eh?
You shut you. I can still edit drunk. Damn it! I just can't review.
Hold his liquor.
Do you want me to down another 2 pints to prove a point?
No,
because you know I will.
Dude, please do not do it because I would like to carry on doing these shows.
All right. Season 2 of Game of Thrones might be my favorite season of the series. Wow. Fuck, I'm getting another 2 pints.
No, you got a whole half already. So, hey everyone. I don't know if anyone is watching this, but I've got to fill time, I guess, now. How did you find the Game of Thrones finale? Let us know.
JX, what happened to your liver? Spite. So season 2 of Game of Thrones might be my favorite season of the series. You know, and this is a worthy telling of that season.
Do I need to start drinking very quickly to catch up with you?
If you want.
This is brilliant. Please just carry on. I'm having a whale of a time right here.
Now, I had trouble putting one above the other until the very last scene when I felt the music fell short. I'd give season 2 an 8.5. Oh wait, what would you give season 2? I
gave what in the original series or for this?
Because remember we said we didn't explain any. Fuck it. What? Yeah, the series.
In terms of like the original series, 10 episodes untouched, I don't like it as much as it's more impressive budget wise, and they get a battle in there. But I still do prefer season 1 because I did feel that was the closest to the book.
Right, but compared to this movie.
Oh right,
because it's the movie section.
I mean, I've got to give it to the show, right? Because the show just has more scenes and develops things a lot more.
I can see what you're saying there, but I mean,
But I did think this works as a 3 hour self-contained thing from that season more so than the season one did. Season one missed out a lot of stuff.
yeah,
This one,
I
its cuts were like the stuff that it removed. I would have liked to have seen, but the plot and the narrative still moved on without it.
I know I see what you yeah I know exactly what you mean. Judging this as a movie and judging the other one as a show, I put them as almost equals. This one lost some points and then regained them.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, I do consider them equals now. I put that extra 0.5 in while you were giving it your score.
Right.
Because I said early, did I say earlier that I gave it a 7.5?
Yeah.
Yeah, it has an 8 now.
Nice.
Because it removed a bit of a head scratcher for me when it comes to season 2.
What's that?
When Arya is caught with the note,
Mm.
and that guy who can't read brings it to Tywin and then gets killed
Mm-hmm.
by Jaqen, and then Tywin has the dart and he's like, Wolfsbane, a very rare poison. And then he said, someone made an attempt on my life and I want who did it and I want them dead. Except this was not an attempt on this was very clearly not an attempt on his life, because if whoever did this wanted him dead, he'd
They would
be
have done it.
dead.
Yeah.
This was a very successful attempt on somebody else's life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I can see that. I can see that.
Yeah, with that last scene, you talk about how like it had already ended, but I got to point out that I felt that I've noticed that the last scene of these movies have been the last scene of their respective seasons.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, it was Sam and the White Walkers with the 3 horns, which they successfully hinted at. Credit there.
Mm-hmm.
Did not see that coming when that show came out. Damn.
I will say, with hindsight, though, I've always had a problem with this ending scene. Why did the White Walker let Sam live?
Would you want him in your army? There's a reason he was sent to the wall.
Well, I mean, he fought all the White Walkers in season 8, and he came out unscathed. So I think he'd do pretty well, actually. And also confirmed, Samwell Tarly has a higher confirmed kill count than the entire Golden Company.
Yeah, probably. I mean, do you count White Walkers as alive, or anything he stops as alive?
I would have re-edited it where you just have what is it? Dolores Ed, Gren and Pip and Sam hear the White Walkers or hear the things, start running, and then cut it, and then just have the White Walkers show up on the horse and marshal his troops forward towards the Fist of the First Men. I would have just cut out that whole Samwell Tarly thing.
Except the first, unless, yeah, and then just cut him saying "you left me."
Yeah.
And then
season 3, yeah.
Samwell Tarly, I forbid you to die.
Unless you have it that they like run on ahead and he gets like, because he's, fat and he can't run, he struggles to like run and catch up, and then he says you left me, meaning that they didn't all run off together. You could explain it that way. You could read into it that way.
I'll be honest. That just makes Sam look like even more of a bitch.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll have to see when we get to season 3. But
also, I really liked. I thought it was really well edited the way John and Egret's entire storyline, like solo storyline, was abbreviated to a single scene.
Mm-hmm. I did think it was weird how he's chasing her over the snow, and then it cuts to another scene which is inferred to be like much later happening, and then it cuts back to them and they're still chasing each other. It's like, God, have they been chasing each other for weeks over the snow? Like, this is insane. But yeah, no, like I didn't feel the meat of their story really comes into the fold in the next couple of seasons. So
yes,
you only need to just literally establish them being a thing in this one.
Prediction. What music do you think we'll get when we see Mance Rayder?
Oh,
because you know that soundtrack a lot better than I do. I'm not afraid to admit that.
Mance Rayder. See, it's weird because you don't really get any sense of leitmotif in these because 1 second the Starks have the Rohan theme, then they have the Shire theme.
Well, I would say that
Rayburn.
this Winterfell has the Rohan theme, or the Northmen have the Rohan theme, but the Starks have the
Stark theme, the Shire theme.
Shire theme. Yeah.
Mance Raider, I am trying to like rack my brain through Lord of the
Okay,
Rings soundtrack.
perhaps an easier question: what music do you think will come on when we first see Tormund Giantsbane?
That's got to be a dwarven one. I'm feeling something dwarven for that.
Okay, I'll admit I can't actually finish this.
Although I do feel like when he shows up and he's like this huge lumbering guy, you know the music that plays when Lurtz approaches.
Yes, yeah, I actually do.
It's like dun dun
Mm-hmm.
dun dun, like something like that, maybe.
That was a dumb idea. Not your thing.
Oh, thank you.
No, not at all what you said. Just that. My judgment is a little impaired.
So what was the final score then? Because what I'm interested with this one, oh Jesus.
Listen, I could finish it.
What's the occasion?
Review. Okay, so 13.
What I would say is like this could be interesting.
I have to do math.
It's either going to be more or it's going to break even with the other one because this one I docked a lot of points off it at the beginning, but then gave it a lot more points towards the end. So I think it might just sort of balance itself out again.
Dude, you knocked a point off of it. Oh wait, you knocked 1.5 off of it at the beginning.
Yeah.
7 plus 14.5. Excuse me, I'm terribly sorry. Was that
Emily,
British?
I'm terribly sorry. Yeah, probably. By the way, Emily, you want some of that Britishness? I'm about to give you your second word in a minute.
12 and I'm gonna do math. You do the second word.
Okay, so once again, as requested by Emily, this has become a regular segment on the show now. So please do get some more words into me or across to JX, and I will be sure to read them out. This is the sportswear company Adidas, and the word is Adidas. So there you go. There's the word.
54.5.
So hey, Emily, I've never met you, but get your words into me, and I'll read them out next episode.
70.5. 2 weeks in a row. What?
The first one get?
68.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, okay, it's gone up a little bit. That's good.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, strange enough, too. What the? Hey, I just got an alert on my computer. Christopher Garner is now active on Skype. Would I like to call him again?
Oh shit! Can we get like a double camera thing going on? This will be mental.
For those who don't know, that's Christopher Garner.
Yo, now I've given my surname out before, haven't I, on my YouTube channel? Yeah.
I said it a couple times probably.
Yeah. It's cool. They'll find me.
And if you want my real name, you can ask very nicely. Closing thoughts. I just want to say I was pleasantly disappointed with the use of Reigns of Castamere at the end when Tywin shits on the Red Keep.
Well, you wanted Reigns of Castamere to still be there?
No, I wanted it not. I wanted it all Howard Shore. Mm-hmm. But I don't mind Reigns of Castamere. Like I said, I was pleasantly disappointed.
Yeah.
Which is like the...
I think we need to wrap this thing up because we've been going for a while.
I doubt we have. Hang on.
What is our edit for in 2 weeks' time?
Oh, our edit in 2 weeks' time would be... wait, zoomed in still? Wait a second.
That's probably my camera.
SeaWorld Man is in the chat.
Yo, SeaWorld Man.
He's gone now.
Okay. He means my camera. That guy's on it. Like, if something changes in my room, if the camera's slightly zoomed in, if it's slightly angled to the left, like, that guy's on it. Like,
honestly, I don't mind it. Honestly, I noticed you were slightly angled to your left, my right, and so I kind of shifted a little bit to this, so it looked like we were having a conversation.
Yeah, that's cool. Maybe we'll turn this way, so you get my good side.
Hey, man, how's it going?
Hey, sup? Where's the eye line? I need to look this way, don't I? I need to look this way.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. How's it going, man?
Yeah, it's good. Like I mean, I haven't drank any of this, but the night's still young, so yeah. How are
I
you doing?
have.
Yeah, no, I can tell.
I'm kind of fucked up,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah,
Strangely enough,
yeah. No
I've
shit.
had 5 pints this stream in the
5
past 40
pints.
minutes.
Hey,
Let's
no,
go
you're
back.
working on. Yeah. Okay.
The next stream will be for Kevin Smets, which is the name of the actual director and not at all the like handle. The handle would be KOTOR Movie Saga, Knights of the Old Republic, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, Episode 1, A Familiar Path. Something I think I'm appropriate due to an unconfirmed
Trilogy
what's
of
called.
films. And I guess still some connective tissue to Game of Thrones, right? So it'll be a nice progression after this one.
Oh shit! You're yeah.
And also down to the fact that I seriously need some education on Knights of the Old Republic because I've never played any of those games, and this is an effective way to watch the entire game, I'm assuming. The narrative of the game in a movie form. It's going to be good. It's going to be like watching a brand new Star Wars movie, and I've heard really good things about KOTOR, so let's do it.
It's not going to be like what you're going to be watching a new Star Wars movie.
Okay.
That's just what that is. It just
Okay.
happens to look like a 2003 video game.
But still looks way better than the early Clone Wars episodes.
I honestly, that depends. Don't watch episode 2 until the special edition comes out. Is all I'm saying.
Okay.
Because that's not as good as the early Clone Wars. But I will say, Kevin 2, Jenks, and there's a third, JC. I listen to their shit, so I know this shit. I know the behind the scenes stuff. They did a phenomenal job doing this. I've seen it, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Watch it before the review. Watch it whenever. Just watch it, man.
Okay.
But don't watch the second one.
Okay, I will do. We probably need to wrap up now because it's getting very, very dark over here, and give it 10 more minutes and I'm probably going to be in complete pitch blackness. But
I'm tempted to give it another 10 minutes for that very reason. I want to see what happens.
Oh no! Oh no! It's happening! Fuck!
Oh, that was fast. All right. Well, I had a clever way of ending it.
But then you drank 5 pints.
Yeah, I did. The worst part is I didn't even get to forget that I had the idea. I just forgot the idea itself, which is like awful.
Yeah, that's way worse. Yeah.
Yeah. So